Have you ever locked eyes with your dog after a terrible day and felt like they somehow just knew that something was wrong, that you needed them more than usual? That's not your imagination. And it's not just a coincidence, because science has now confirmed what dog owners have believed for centuries, that dogs can actually read human emotions with a level of precision that puts most humans to shame. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly how your dog does it, and why this ancient bond between our two species runs so much deeper than we ever imagined. Dogs were the first animals ever domesticated by humans, somewhere between 15 and 40,000 years ago, long before cats, before cattle, before horses. And that head start matters because it means dogs have had tens of thousands of years to evolve alongside us, to study us, to adapt to our moods, our routines, and our emotional signals, in a way no other species on the planet has. Researchers now believe this shared history literally rewired the canine brain to become a specialist in reading human faces and human feelings, almost like dogs developed their own emotional translation software, just for us. One of the most fascinating discoveries in recent years came from a study out of the University of Lincoln in the UK, where scientists showed dogs pictures of human and dog faces displaying different emotions, alongside sounds like laughter or growling, some matching the facial expression and some not. And what they found was remarkable. Dogs spent significantly longer looking at the face when the facial expression and the vocal sound actually matched, meaning the dogs were mentally connecting a happy face with a happy sound and an angry face with an angry sound, which tells us dogs aren't just reacting to random cues. They're actually building a real internal understanding of what different emotions look and sound like in both dogs and humans, something scientists once thought only primates were capable of doing. Now here's where it gets even more interesting, because dogs don't just recognize emotions, they actually catch them, almost like emotions are contagious between species. This is called emotional contagion, and it's the most primitive form of empathy that we know of. So when you're stressed, anxious, or upset, your dog's own stress hormone levels can actually rise too, purely from being near you. A study published in the journal Nature Scientific Reports found that dog and owner cortisol levels, which is the hormone your body releases under stress, were synchronized over time, meaning a stressed owner tends to have a stressed dog, and a calm owner tends to have a calm dog. This synchronization was even stronger in female dogs, which suggests that dogs are not just passively existing next to us, they are actively absorbing our emotional state as part of their daily experience. But how exactly does a dog pick up on these signals in the first place? The answer starts with the face. Dogs have become incredibly skilled at reading human facial expressions, and part of this might come down to a physical feature we don't often think about: the muscle above a dog's eyes that creates that irresistible puppy dog eyes look. Researchers at the University of Portsmouth found that this specific muscle, called the levator anguli oculi medialis, is basically absent in wolves but highly developed in domestic dogs, suggesting it evolved specifically because humans respond so strongly to it, which means dogs may have literally evolved a facial muscle designed to manipulate our emotions and trigger our nurturing instincts. And if that doesn't prove how deeply intertwined our two species have become, nothing will. Beyond facial expressions, dogs are also masters of body language. They notice when your shoulders slump, when you walk slower than usual, when you cross your arms, when you pace back and forth, and they combine all of these small physical cues into a bigger picture of how you're feeling, almost like a detective piecing together clues. This is why your dog often seems to know something is wrong before you've even said a word, because they've been quietly observing your posture and your movements the entire time. Then there's your voice. Dogs are exceptionally good at picking up on tone, pitch, and rhythm, even if they don't understand the actual words you're saying. A study using MRI brain scans on awake, unrestrained dogs, conducted by researchers in Hungary, found that dogs process emotional information in voices using a region of their brain very similar to the region humans use, located in a similar part of the temporal lobe. This was one of the first pieces of hard evidence showing that dog brains and human brains process vocal emotion in comparable ways, despite our two species being separated by millions of years of evolution. Honestly, one of the most incredible convergences in the entire animal kingdom. And it's not just tone of voice. Dogs can also smell your emotions, because when you're scared or stressed, your body releases specific chemical compounds through sweat. And dogs, with a sense of smell up to 100,000 times stronger than ours, can detect these chemical changes. In one particularly striking study, researchers collected sweat samples from people watching either happy or scary videos, and then let dogs interact with strangers while smelling those samples. Dogs who smelled the fear, sweat showed more stress behaviors themselves, and interacted less confidently with the stranger, while dogs who smelled the happy sweat were noticeably calmer, which proves that your dog isn't just reading your face or your voice, they are quite literally smelling your emotional state. contact before you even open your mouth. Now let's talk about the eyes, because eye contact between dogs and humans triggers something almost magical at a hormonal level. Researchers in Japan discovered that when dogs and their owners gaze into each other's eyes, both species experience a rise in oxytocin, often nicknamed the love hormone. This is the exact same hormonal bonding mechanism that occurs between human mothers and their babies, meaning your dog looking lovingly into your eyes is triggering the same biological bonding loop that exists between a parent and a child. And interestingly, this oxytocin loop does not happen between wolves and humans, even hand-raised wolves, which strongly suggests this is a bond that evolved specifically through domestication, a bond that was essentially built generation after generation between dogs and us. So why does any of this actually matter for you and your dog at home? Well, understanding that your dog is constantly reading your emotional state means your emotional energy directly shapes your dog's day-to-day well-being. So if you're walking around stressed and anxious all the time, your dog is likely absorbing some of that tension. And on the flip side, when you're calm, playful, and affectionate, you're actively creating a more secure and relaxed emotional environment for your dog to live in. This is especially important for anxious or reactive dogs because your own composed energy can actually help regulate their nervous system, almost like you become their emotional anchor in stressful situations like vet visits, thunderstorms, or meeting new people. This is also exactly why dogs have become such powerful partners in emotional support and therapy work, because their built-in ability to detect subtle shifts in human emotion allows them to respond to anxiety, depression, PTSD, and even oncoming panic attacks, sometimes before the person themselves has consciously registered what's happening. There are countless documented cases of psychiatric service dogs interrupting a panic attack by applying deep pressure therapy, nudging their handler, or physically guiding them to safety, purely because the dog picked up on physiological and emotional cues that most humans would completely miss. So the next time your dog rests their head on your lap after a hard day, or refuses to leave your side when you're sick, understand that this isn't just cute behavior. It's the result of tens of thousands of years of co-evolution, specialized facial muscles built to tug at your heart, brain regions that mirror our own emotional processing, a nose that can literally smell your fear or your joy, and a hormonal bond as powerful as the one between a parent and a child. And honestly, when you really sit with that, it kind of reframes the entire relationship, because your dog isn't just a pet who happens to live in your house. They are, in almost every measurable scientific sense, one of the most emotionally attuned companions a human being could ever ask for. And maybe that's exactly why, after a long, hard day, the only one who truly seems to get it, without you saying a single word, is the one curled up right there at your feet.